The valley of ash lay quiet beneath a red sky, where burned stone still breathed heat and sorrow. A dragon mother rested with torn wings folded tight, her scales dulled by dust and pain. Beside her stood her daughter, small and bright-eyed, horns barely curved, tail flicking with nervous hope. The little dragon girl pressed her forehead to her mother's neck and whispered softly, "Don't cry, Mama, maybe that human will help us," said the little dragon girl. The mother rumbled a weak sound that tried to be comfort. Humans had hunted dragons for ages. Humans feared fire and wings. Yet far across the cracked plain, a single figure walked alone, carrying no spear and no banner, only a pack and a steady gaze. The child watched him approach with wonder. She had never seen a human this close. His steps were careful, as if the land itself could feel pain. The mother shifted protectively, but could not rise. Blood darkened the ash beneath her. The human stopped at a distance and raised empty hands. His eyes met the child's without fear, and in that quiet moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. The human spoke slowly with a voice worn by travel. His name was Rowan, and he sought lost paths and lost lives. He had followed smoke, thinking it a dying fire. Instead, he found a wounded guardian and her brave child. Rowan knelt and set his pack down, drawing herbs wrapped in cloth. The little dragon girl tilted her head, curious. She smelled no iron or hate on him, only earth and rain. "Mama, he smells kind," she murmured. The mother watched with ancient caution. Dragons knew truth in scent and sound. Rowan did not step closer until the child fluttered her wings and nodded, permission granted by innocence. He worked gently, cleaning torn scales and binding wings with practiced care. He hummed an old song from green hills far away, a song of home and mending. The valley listened. The wind softened, pain eased into sleep. When the sun dipped low, the mother breathed easier, her eyes no longer clouded by fear alone. The child curled beside Rowan. Warmth meeting warmth, a fragile trust forming like a spark. Night brought cold stars and a small, careful fire. Rowan told stories to keep the child awake while the medicine settled. He spoke of rivers that sang and forests that remembered names. The little dragon girl shared her own tales of sky dances and cloud games. She laughed with a sound like chimes. The mother listened and felt hope stretch her tired heart. She spoke at last, telling of hunters and loss, of guarding eggs that never hatched. Rowan listened without judgment, his eyes reflecting flame and respect. He promised no miracles, only effort and time. The child leaned close to him and whispered, "Thank you," with a smile. The fire crackled softly. No screams rose from the valley, only the rhythm of healing breaths and shared stories. Somewhere far away, the world learned a small lesson about mercy. Dawn arrived pale and gentle. The mother tested her wings and found strength returning. Pain still lingered but no longer ruled. Rowan prepared to leave, knowing paths called to walkers. The little dragon girl felt a knot of sadness. "Will you come back?" she asked with hopeful eyes. Rowan smiled and said, "Paths cross again when hearts remember." He placed a small charm of carved wood at the mother's side, a symbol of safe skis. The mother bowed her great head, a gesture few humans ever saw. She thanked him in the old tongue. The child practiced lifting off, wobbling and laughing as ash puffed beneath her claws. "Mama, we can fly again," she cried, and the valley echoed her joy. As Rowan walked away, the little dragon girl stood tall upon a ridge, watching until he became a dot in the distance, though no one spoke the word. She turned to her mother with bright resolve. "We will help others like he helped us," she said. The mother wrapped a wing around her daughter and agreed. Kindness remembered becomes tradition. The valley slowly healed, grass pushed through ash, and stories spread on wind and fire alike, of a human who did not hunt, of a dragon child who believed, and of a promise born from tears turned into hope, carried forward wherever courage chose compassion. Seasons turned in Ash Valley, and the world did not forget what happened there, though it changed its shape and color. Where black stone once ruled, green shoots now broke through with stubborn life. The dragon mother healed fully, her wings strong and wide again, her flight carving gentle shadows across the land. The little dragon girl grew quickly, her scales shimmering like dawn light on water, yet her heart stayed soft with memory. She remembered the human named Rowan, his careful hands and quiet courage. And she carried that memory like a flame that never burned, only warmed. One morning the wind carried a new sound, not the whistle of prey or the roar of storms, but fear, distant and sharp. The little dragon girl lifted her head and listened. "Mama, someone is crying," she said. Her mother closed her eyes and felt it too. A village lay beyond the hills, human voices tangled in panic, smoke rising not from hearths but from chaos. The mother's first instinct was caution. Humans had hurt dragons before, but the child stepped forward with certainty. Mama, we promised. The mother remembered Rowan's eyes and bowed her head, then spread her wings. They flew low and slow so as not to terrify, clouds drifting beneath them like soft witnesses. As they reached the edge of the village, they saw destruction. A broken dam had flooded fields. Homes were half submerged. People clung to rooftops and trees, shouting for help. The sight of dragons sent a wave of fear through them. But the little dragon girl landed first, folding her wings small, her voice clear and gentle. "We are here to help," she called. The words were simple but carried truth. An old man stared at her with trembling hands. A child hid behind his leg, yet hope flickered. The mother moved with care, lifting beams, diverting water with controlled bursts of heat that hardened mud into barriers. The little dragon girl ferried people from rooftops to dry ground, her wings straining but steady. She remembered Rowan's patience and copied it. Slow movements, soft sounds, reassurance in every glance. Humans watched in awe as fear slowly loosened its grip. When the work was done, the village stood quieter but alive. The people gathered at a distance, unsure. Until a woman stepped forward, holding a wooden charm carved with a symbol of safe skis. She spoke Rowan's name. The little dragon girl's eyes widened. "You know him?" she asked. The woman nodded with tears. "He saved my brother on the mountain pass years ago," she said. "He told us stories of dragons kinder than legends allowed." The mother felt a deep rumble of emotion, threads connecting moments across time, kindness traveling farther than wings ever could. The villagers bowed, not in worship, but in gratitude. The little dragon girl felt something new bloom in her chest, purpose shaped by compassion. Days passed and word spread, not as fear but as wonder. Travelers spoke of dragons who healed instead of hunted, who listened instead of burned. Some came seeking help, others simply seeking truth. The mother taught her daughter wisdom alongside strength, reminding her that not all would accept peace, yet peace must still be offered. The little dragon girl practiced restraint as much as fire, learning when to act and when to wait. She grew into her name, though the world had not yet given her one. One evening, under sky painted with stars, the little dragon girl sat beside a quiet river, watching reflections ripple. "Mama, do you think Rowan knows we kept our promise?" she asked. The mother smiled in the way only ancient beings can. "Promises kept change the world whether they are seen or not," she replied. At that moment the wind shifted, carrying a familiar tune, a hum woven with memories of green hills and mending hands. Far on a distant path a human walked, feeling warmth for reasons he could not name. The little dragon girl lifted her wings and laughed softly, a sound carried into the night. The world listened again, and somewhere between fire and earth, human and dragon, a future took shape, not perfect, not easy, but guided by a simple truth learned in ash and pain, that hope spoken by a small brave voice can teach even ancient hearts to believe. Years flowed like a wide, patient river, carrying changes gently but without pause. The little dragon girl was little no longer, her wings now strong enough to lift others, her horns curved proudly, her eyes still soft with the same belief that once trembled in ash. She trained under her mother in high skis and deep caves, learning the old laws of dragons, power balanced by wisdom, fire guided by heart. Yet beyond ancient lessons, she carried something new, a human lesson born from Rowan's kindness. A belief that strength meant nothing unless it protected the weak. The world beyond Ash Valley shifted. Kingdoms rose and argued, borders hardened, and old fears stirred again. Rumors spread of dragons growing bold. Some painted them as monsters reborn, others as miracles. And where fear walks, conflict often follows. One night the stars dimmed behind heavy clouds as scouts arrived from the northern ridges, bringing news of an army moving with iron and fire, dragon hunters reborn under new banners, armed with machines that spat thunder. The mother's scales darkened with memory, scars aching with old pain. War had found their doorstep once more. Young dragon stepped forward, wings half spread. "Mama, we cannot hide forever," she said. The mother looked at her daughter, seeing both the child she once was and the leader she had become. "Hiding protects few and saves none," she replied. "But neither does rage alone." Together they called a council. Dragons of many colors answered. Cautious elders and fierce youths gathered in the wide sky circle. Voices clashed like storms. Some demanded fire and destruction. Others urged retreat into the unreachable peaks. The young dragon listened, then lifted herself higher so all could see. She spoke not of power but of memory. She told them of the Ash Valley, of pain and mercy, of a human who came unarmed and changed fate. She spoke of villages saved, of children who no longer screamed at shadows of wings. Some scoffed, some listened, and a few felt something stir. The young dragon ended with quiet conviction. If we burn them all, we become their stories of fear. If we help them, we may change the ending. Silence followed, heavy and uncertain. Then the oldest dragon lowered his head in thought. The hunters arrived sooner than expected, steel glinting under cold sun, traps laid across mountain passes, the air filled with tension. The young dragon flew alone toward them, her mother watching with restrained worry. The army halted at the sight of her, weapons raised, hearts pounding. She landed beyond arrow range and folded her wings, echoing a gesture learned long ago. "I am here to speak," she called, her voice carrying calm strength. The commander laughed nervously. Dragons did not speak like this in his stories, yet he stepped forward. Words were exchanged slowly, carefully. She named their fears before they could voice them, spoke of loss and legend, of children told bedtime horrors. She did not deny dragon fire or fang. She acknowledged it, but offered another truth alongside it. The dragons also guarded skis, healed lands, and chose mercy when mercy was met with respect. Some soldiers wavered, others gripped weapons tighter. The commander hesitated, doubt creeping in like fog, until a single arrow flew, loosed by panic or pride, striking the young dragon's shoulder. The sky seemed to freeze, dragons above roared in fury, fire gathering in throats. The mother's wings trembled with restrained devastation. The young dragon staggered but did not fall. Pain burned sharp, yet she raised a claw, stopping the wrath behind her. She looked at the soldiers not with hatred but disappointment. Fear rippled through the ranks, expecting annihilation. Instead, she pulled the arrow free and let it fall. "I will not answer fear with fire," she said. Her blood steamed on the ground, staining it with proof of choice. That moment changed everything. Some soldiers dropped weapons, others fled. The commander fell to his knees, overwhelmed by what he had witnessed. Dragons descended not to destroy but to heal, tending wounds on both sides, dismantling traps, turning battleground into truce ground. News spread faster than flame ever could. A dragon who bled and still chose peace. Legends cracked and reshaped themselves, not overnight, not without resistance, but enough to alter the path ahead. As the sun set, the young dragon rested beside her mother, wound-bound, wings folded. "You did well," the mother said with pride and relief. The young dragon smiled faintly. "I just remembered what a human once showed me," she replied. High above, clouds parted, stars returned, and somewhere far away a traveler paused, feeling a warmth he could not explain. A flame carried forward again, not burning the world, but lighting the way. Time did not rush after the day of the arrow. It slowed, as if the world itself needed space to think. The young dragon healed under clear skies, while elders watched her with new eyes, no longer seeing only potential but certainty. She had stood between fire and fear and chosen neither, choosing instead the harder path that asked everyone to change. Word traveled across valleys and seas, carried by traders, soldiers, and children who loved to repeat the story. They spoke of a dragon who could have ended armies but chose to end hatred first. Each retelling shaped the tale, yet the heart of it remained true. Humans began to come not with chains or weapons, but with offerings, food left at mountain edges, songs sung at dusk. Symbols of peace carved into stone. Many were afraid, courage often arrived shaking. The young dragon watched from afar, understanding that trust grew slowly, like forests after fire. Her mother guided her, reminding her that leadership was patience worn every day, not glory worn once. Together they decided to meet the world halfway, never bowing, never looming, always present. A council of humans eventually formed, leaders from scattered lands who wished to see the truth with their own eyes. They arrived escorted but unarmed, hearts pounding as wings shadowed the peaks. The young dragon descended calmly, landing where sky met stone. She introduced herself not with a roar, but with a name she had chosen for herself, one that meant hope that walks between. The humans struggled to shape the sounds, but tried, and trying mattered. They spoke for days, exchanging history like wounds examined in open light. Humans admitted to fear passed down like inheritance. Dragons spoke of loss and solitude. The young dragon listened more than she spoke, remembering Rowan's quiet way. When talks strained, she guided them back with gentle questions, forcing reflection instead of reaction. Slowly agreements formed. No hunting without cause, no burning without warning, shared watch over borders where misunderstandings once became massacres. It was not perfect, but it was real. Not all accepted this change. Shadows gathered where resentment fed itself. A faction rose believing peace was weakness. They planned in secret, dreaming of capturing the dragon who embarrassed their hatred. One night they struck, using stolen machines and poison wind. The mountains echoed with chaos. The young dragon felt the attack before she saw it, alarm ringing through bone and sky. She flew into danger without hesitation. Her mother and others closed behind. The battle was brutal and confused, smoke choking stars, metal screaming against scale. The young dragon fought fiercely but with restraint, disabling machines, scattering attackers without slaughter. Then she saw them, children dragged along as shields, taught lies before they learned truth. Rage surged like wildfire. For a heartbeat the old fire begged to be unleashed. She closed her eyes and remembered Ash Valley, remembered a small voice saying maybe that human will help us, and she chose again. She landed before the attackers and shielded the children with her own body, taking blows meant for them. Her roar this time was not anger but command. Enough, she thundered, the sound shaking fear loose from hearts. The attackers broke, running from the weight of their own actions. Silence fell heavy and broken only by sobbing children. The young dragon knelt, lowering herself to their level. You are safe now, she said softly, and for many it was the first truth they had ever been given. After that night the world named her not just with her chosen name, but with a title spoken in many tongues. The dragon who stayed her fire. Songs were written, clumsy at first, then better. Children played games pretending to be brave dragons and kind humans. Borders softened where stories changed. Fear did not vanish, but it no longer ruled unchallenged. On a quiet ridge at dawn, the young dragon stood with her mother, watching mist lift from the land. Do you think it will last, she asked. The mother answered honestly, nothing lasts forever, but what you started will outlive us in ways we cannot see. The young dragon smiled, wings catching first light. Somewhere far away a traveler rested by a fire, humming an old tune, feeling the world breathe a little easier. And between sky and earth the promise continued, not loud, not perfect, but alive. Carried forward by choice made again and again.